Hallucinations and delusions are perhaps the scariest symptoms of psychosis. They are features which lead the sufferer down a path toward a total loss of contact with reality, and thereby constitute the ultimate definition of madness. Common perception in society is that these features are extreme experiences which only affect a small number of people, those who are suffering from a severe psychiatric illness, while sparing the rest of the so-called normal population. However, this is in fact not true. In reality, you know exactly what it is like to succumb to madness, because every night you experience your own hallucinations and delusions in the form of dreams. And no matter how crazy your dream gets, you fail to realise that what you are experiencing is not actually real, just like the psychotic patient. Accordingly, if a neuroscientist were to eavesdrop on your brain during your dreams, they would observe that your brain is mimicking the brain of an acutely psychotic patient, in terms of its activation, electrical oscillations, and brain chemistry. Because of this similarity between dreaming and psychosis, both are argued by neuroscientists to be similar brain states. In this sense, dreams are therefore understood to be transient psychotic states, which everyone experiences on a nightly basis. However, it is possible for the person to gain awareness that what they are experiencing is not actually real. In both cases, this awareness is called insight. Insight gained during a dream generates a lucid dream, whereas when a psychotic person becomes aware that they are ill, this is called insightful psychosis. Here, both lucid dreams and insightful psychosis constitute hybrid states, because while they both continue to experience hallucinations and delusions, both develop an awareness that what is happening is not truly real, which pulls them out of the throes of madness and back towards sanity. This video is all about how the brain generates madness in dreaming and psychosis, and conversely, how people return from madness back to sanity. As we have discovered, dreaming and psychosis share several important features such as hallucinations, altered thought, and disturbed reality discrimination. As you sleep, your brain cycles through different sleep stages, called REM and non-REM. REM means rapid eye movement, where most of your dreams occur. First, you enter non-REM sleep, which is divided into 3 stages, from N1 to N3. Here, N1 is light sleep and is characterized by theta waves. N2 is slightly deeper sleep and is characterized by sleep spindles and K complexes. Finally, N3 is the ultimate unconsciousness pit stage of sleep, which is characterized by delta waves. Then your brain enters REM sleep, formed of theta waves. This is similar to your brain in the N1 stage or when you are awake. Here, your brain generates its own little world. Your brain does this in the following 4 ways. Firstly, your visual cortex activates to generate its own visual imagery. Then your prefrontal cortex deactivates, which is the part of your brain at the front, which is responsible for logical thinking and reflection. Thirdly, your brain exhibits weakened gamma band activity, which is important for both cognition and consciousness. And finally, your system becomes flooded with the neurotransmitter called acetylcholine, while decreasing its aminergic neurotransmitters. All 4 of these things keeps you anchored in madness. And incidentally, all 4 of these things also occur in people experiencing psychosis, which naturally brings us to the next section. Due to the changes in brain activity that we've seen, both the psychotic person and the dreamer become trapped in a third state of consciousness. Here, primary consciousness is simply where you have the ability to experience something, and is considered to be primitive consciousness. Whereas secondary consciousness, or higher order consciousness, is the ability to think about and actually reflect on your experiences. Dreamers and psychotic people in the third state experience primary consciousness, as well as an altered form of secondary consciousness. This means that instead of your consciousness being directed at your external world, it instead gets cut off and directed at your internal world, the one generated by your brain. This may be why psychosis and dreams often feature such similar narratives. For example, dreaming that someone or something is chasing you, versus having a delusion that people are out to get you while you are awake, and the paranoia which follows. But while both dreams and psychosis are characterized by an inability to test reality, many people do manage to get this ability back. Lucidity in dreams is where the dreamer becomes aware that they are dreaming. Some also experience the ability to control what happens in the dream, whilst others experience it through a third-person perspective, as though they are merely watching a movie instead of actively taking part in it. This detachment is called dissociation, and dissociation also happens to be a frequent symptom within various psychotic disorders. Both insight and dissociation are components of secondary consciousness. Here, psychosis and lucid dreams are considered to be hybrid states, which lie somewhere in the boundary between primary and secondary consciousness, producing both awareness as well as detachment from reality. Lucidity is produced when your frontal lobes are activated. On the other hand, dissociation is mediated by decreased communication between the frontal lobes and another part of the brain called the temporal lobe. Whilst the frontal lobes help us think logically, the temporal lobes store memories and are thought to use memories to generate dreams and delusions. Furthermore, during lucid dreams, gamma band activity increases within these frontal and temporal areas. Therefore, sanity can be lost or gained via changes in the brain areas which generate lucidity and dissociation. Both lucidity and dissociation help pull the dreamer back towards sanity, whilst dissociation pushes the psychotic person toward insanity. And in fact, people with psychosis frequently experience comorbid sleep disorders, with sleep disruption being a typical feature as the disorder forms. This was traditionally considered to be a mere byproduct of psychosis, as opposed to a contributing causal factor. However, even in neurotypical people, sleep deprivation generates temporary psychotic symptoms, which is called sleep deprivation psychosis, leading to the hypothesis that schizophrenia and other such psychotic disorders are in fact disorders of consciousness. Here it is thought that psychotic people's brains may oscillate between awake and asleep during waking periods, generating their hallucinations and delusions, in what is the madness of sleep.